There's been this conversation going on online in the Fire Emblem community regarding what makes your Maddening run valid or not. So I decided to have a little bit of fun on Twitter, take part, do my part in unleashing the chaos within, so to speak. But that really got me thinking. Has Engage's DLC really ruined Classic Maddening's difficulty? I've even seen a bunch of comments about it in my comments section and in the community tab, so I figured I'd talk about it from my own point of view. Also, yes, I do read every comment, and I respond to a decent amount of them, so feel free to share your opinion below as well, and while you're down there, leave a like on the video to help me gain weapon triangle advantage against the YouTube algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe! We've been going crazy this month, and I'd love to keep the momentum going for the channel. So like all my videos, let's start at the top and talk about the additions to the base game. There are two different types of DLC in Fire Emblem games. DLC that you pay for, and DLC additions that get put into the game for free. A few examples of the quote-unquote free stuff that we get are the set of steel weapons that you get just from the version update alone, as well as the Fire Emblem Heroes weapons and rings that you get just for linking an account in that game to Engage. These have been seen to be big boons in the early game, and I'll tell you right now, I actually use the Heroes weapons quite a bit in Maddening because they're definitely an early game boost and much better than the steel weapons. You only get one steel sword, lance, and axe from the free version update, and while these are also nice, the early game suffers from a lack of good sword users. The axe is wildly inaccurate, and the lance is kinda nice, but none of your early game lance users are doubling anything anyways, so the power boost seems to have been deemed acceptable by a large portion of the player base in terms of how it has affected specifically Maddening's difficulty. The real issue seems to have arisen due to the paid DLC that is immediately accessible in the game, and even more so the Wave 2 DLC. For those of you who may not be aware, the first wave of DLC came with 2 Emblem bracelets, which are Tiki and Edelgard, as well as a full set of stat boosters, a single one for each stat, which are nice, but nothing game-breaking. You get Edelgard for free after Chapter 6, I believe, and Tiki's map also unlocks at that point, and you have to clear it to get her. These are 2 excellent emblems, and I personally have gotten a lot of use out of Edelgard for some quick burst damage to kill a couple of enemies with her powerful combo of Raging Storm and Houses Unite. Tiki has the ability to increase a character's growth, albeit only one at a time, unless you want to shell out the 1,500 SP that Starfear costs, and by then, it's not really worth it, but it is what it is. Anyways, it also turns the unit into quite a tank while manipulating terrain, so Tiki's actually pretty good as well. The more important thing is that these also act as an early conduit to obtaining more SP on more of your characters as a nice little addition, which might not be as impactful. The real impact I see with these 2 bracelets is that they give an additional boost to early game and even mid-game boss killing power that would shave down HP bars and take down these bosses with less strategy involved. Some people might be rolling their eyes at this and think I'm silly for saying this, but an additional 2 units using Engage skills, especially Tiki's Divine Blessing to give a unit of your own an additional HP bar, is a pretty decent boost. I'll play devil's advocate a little bit though, and say that even on my first run of this game on hard, I struggled a lot in Chapter 11 even with the Edelgard bracelet. At best, I get one shot to engage with it, and I'm really going to need to make it count because that chapter is very unforgiving, especially the first time around. And that's what I really want to stress in this video. First time around. You see, I'm playing on Maddening Classic now as I'm writing the script, and I've ripped through over half of the maps in the game with very little problem without using any DLC resources, including Chapter 11. I don't think the difficulty really lies in what rings or emblems you do and don't have available to you, but I think it's more so based on your knowledge of the game and preparation. Did you refine the right weapons? Do you have the right synergy? And are you able to read enemy mechanics, movement, and attack tendencies in order to properly manage your strategic approach? If you do these on your first playthrough, then you probably wouldn't even have much trouble with Chapter 11, even without the DLC bracelets. But if you didn't do this properly, even on normal difficulty, you might have an issue with Chapter 11 even with the DLC bracelets. So I think it's a little bit of balance, and we might be overestimating the DLC's power boost just a little bit. Going back to Chapter 11, it's one of those chapters that gets highly lauded as the pinnacle, or rather one of the main difficulty spikes in the game across all difficulties, and I think that to say that Wave 1's DLC makes or breaks that chapter is probably a little bit unfair. Except we don't only have Wave 1, now we have Wave 2, and this might be where I change my tune a little bit. You see, Wave 2 went a little bit overboard, and it's even hard for someone like me to defend this. Not only do we have 3 more Emblem bracelets, one of which is completely broken, IS what were you thinking with Soren, but we also got some additional resources as well. 30,000 gold, 20 silver ingots, a silver sword, lance, and axe, a bunch of SP books that can provide your units a total of 3,000 SP. I could go on. This, I will deem, is quite the significant boost, especially that early in the game. Again, I think it just drops around chapter 5 or 6. Whenever all the DLC stuff unlocks, you just get this. It's like it pops up on your screen and you can't do anything to stop it. You just have it. Silver weapons in this game are very strong, and refining them even once gives your characters quite the power boost. The 20 silver ingots can not only be used for very high level refining, but it can also be broken down into steel ingots or iron ingots, which can be quite the bottleneck in the early game. And do I really need to comment on the 30,000 gold? If you're not investing in your regions, which by the way you really shouldn't be doing, that 30,000 gold is going to give you a lot of mileage going forward. The 3000 SP is also pretty significant since it's enough to inherit Canter on 3 units, granted they're starting from 0. So if you spread that out a little bit more, it's likely that you're going to be getting it on 6 units because generally they'll only need a little more than 200, 300 by the time you're around pre-chapter 10. And that, my friends, is movement utility, which might be the most valuable thing in this DLC wave. If that wasn't enough, it also gives us 5,000 bond points, which is fine since most people will gamble it away on rings and bond points aren't really that scarce of a resource anyways. Maddening elitists have graciously allowed us to save scum and do seed manipulation to get S-rank all-win rings anyways because it's in the base game, so bond points don't even matter. So the point I do want to present here though, and I want to be really clear about this, is that I don't really care how people play the game, and I actually think it's way more fun with the DLC than without it. It's just fun to have all these gizmos and gadgets and these fun cracked playstyles and watching your characters do crazy things to the point where I actually wish there was a higher difficulty so that I can use and abuse these mechanics. But I can't say that without going in the opposite direction and saying that there is also validity to the claims of people who say that the DLC has lowered Maddening's difficulty somewhat. It's just undebatable. If you use these extra resources, that's what it does. A big part of the Fire Emblem experience in general is resource and army management. That's just kind of Fire Emblem 101. And when you provide even a bit more flexibility and leeway, especially without having to actively earn it, you do immediately lower the threshold of difficulty in your own playthrough. Having said that, let's talk about what you do have to earn, and that's most of the bracelets. There's no arguing that Edelgard existing for free and giving you 20% extra EXP on everyone for just 200 SP via the lineage skill is kinda busted, especially early in the game. But honestly, the rest of the DLC bracelets are actually not very easy to obtain. Tiki's Paralog unlocks after Chapter 6, and you have to complete it in order to unlock the rest of the DLC maps. I don't know about you guys, but I was definitely reading through Twitter, which, by the way, you can follow me over there if you wish to do so. I'll leave a link in the description. But while I was browsing Twitter and even just chatting to some of my friends over Discord, there were constant complaints about how big of a spike Tiki's Paralog was in terms of tediousness in completing the map as soon as it unlocked. The map wasn't just a walk in the park where you go find a bracelet underneath a bench and you pick it up and you fall in love with the girl of your dreams. No, it's a challenge that you have to undertake, and after you finish that, you earn your stripes. And personally, this is a point of contention that I ask myself in general. Are these maps difficult enough that I can say that if you went through the trouble of clearing them early, this compensates for decreasing the difficulty of the base game itself with access to these powerful emblems? There's no debate on the free resources themselves, like I said above. Those just flat out do so. But what about the fights you have to go through in order to get the bracelets? It's just food for thought. I haven't really thought about it much. I haven't really studied it much. If someone has, let me know in the comments. But yeah, as a little closing statement, I want to put it out there that there are so many ways to play challenge runs in Fire Emblem that I don't really know if there is a be-all, end-all way to classify the quote-unquote pure Maddening experience. Is it really a true Maddening clear if you used emblem rings at all? What about using bond rings? Should I need to be a complete divorce connoisseur in order to confidently conquer Engage? What about healing items? Am I allowed to use those? Are solo runs with Alir invalid because it takes advantage of the game's mechanics and lets you cheese things? Are speedruns and LTCs the highest levels of play because they can craft the most optimal tactics available? And if so, why wouldn't the DLC be okay there because it allows them to take it even further? Are Iron Man runs the peak because of the fight or flight adaptability and thinking on your feet? I think at the end of the day, no one's Maddening run should be devalued or dismissed because they used DLC or not. Is it easier? Sure, yeah, I mean it might be, but your quote-unquote purest run that you're playing the way you think the devs intended you to play is probably 1,000 times easier than a run some deranged lunatic out there is doing, and I don't think you'd really like it if he barged in here telling you were invalid and that your accomplishment means nothing. Having said that, that's pretty much my take on this. I don't know if it's a base take, a W take, an L take, whatever the kids are saying these days, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This week is the week of opinions and game analysis videos, so I look forward to hearing yours as well as you hearing mine. On Monday, we're going to start the first part of our in-depth review of Engage, so don't miss it, and I look forward to seeing you there. Peace.